What's up, fantasy managers? Welcome back to another episode of the First Pitch Podcast brought to you by PitcherList.com. My name is Jake Crumpler, and I'll be your host for this edition of the pod. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake Crumpler, and you can find all of my work at CrumplerBaseball.com. Let's dive into everything baseball related from Wednesday, July 9th. We'll start it off, as always, with the transactions, injuries, news, and notes from around the league, and we're lucky enough to walk away from this day with no notable IL placements, so we'll head straight into our transactions and start with starting pitcher Cam Schlitter, who made his MLB debut versus the Mariners on Wednesday, tossing 5 innings, allowing 4 hits and 3 earned runs while walking 2 and punching out 7. He induced 9 whiffs with 33% CSW across 75 pitches, so a pretty successful debut for Schlitter. Jeff Hartlieb was designated for assignment in a corresponding move. In other Yankees news, second baseman DJ LeMahieu was designated for assignment. Somewhat surprising, but he has not been great for the past couple of years. This year, he's batted .266 with a .674 OPS, just a pair of homers and a .95 WRC+. So a little bit warranted, but still surprising to see LeMahieu designated for assignment by the Yankees. In a corresponding move, Jorbit Vivas was recalled from the minors, and he's expected to be the Yankees' backup utility infielder moving forward. Next, starting pitcher Tyler Glasnow was activated from the 60-day IL. He had been out with a shoulder injury, and he started in Milwaukee, tossing 5 shutout innings, allowing just 2 hits and 3 walks while striking out 5. He induced 9 whiffs with 28% CSW across 85 pitches, and in a corresponding move to Glasnow's activation, Alexis Diaz was optioned to the minors. Next, designated hitter Masataka Yoshida was activated from the 60-day IL. He had been out all season after undergoing off-season shoulder surgery. Yoshida will have a tough time finding playing time for the Red Sox moving forward with Roman Anthony, Jarren Duran, and Wilyer Abreu all on the roster. All of them are outfielders, and so is Yoshida, and they're all vying for time at DH, so it may be difficult for Yoshida to find time over these young stars on the club. Nate Eaton was optioned to the minors in a corresponding move. And our last transaction involves outfielder Miguel Andujar, who was activated from the 60-day IL. He had been out with an oblique strain, and he'll return to the short side of a left field platoon for the A's. Colby Thomas was optioned to the minors in a corresponding move. And in terms of news, starting pitcher Sean Manaea, who had been out with an oblique strain and a loose body in his elbow, is expected to be activated from the 60-day IL to make his season debut on Sunday in Kansas City. He's likely going to pitch in relief of Clay Holmes, but he should provide some bulk in that outing. Now we can take a look at our notable performances from Wednesday, a day in which we had just 14 games on the slate as the matchup between the Mets and Orioles was postponed. We'll start it off with our hitters, leading off with catcher Salvador Perez, who helped the Royals to win against the Pirates, going 2 for 4 with 2 runs, 2 home runs, and 2 runs batted in. He's up to 13 homers on the year now. First one traveled 444 feet at 110 miles per hour. Second one went 426 feet at 108 miles per hour. Entering Wednesday, Perez was in the midst of the worst offensive season of his career, according to his 83 WRC+, but he broke out of that slump in a big way with his second multi-homer performance of the season. And that's not the only thing suggesting Perez isn't washed yet. His batted ball metrics are still great with a 13% barrel rate and plenty of pulled fly balls. Perez is due for many more nights like this where he displays his immense power. Everything points to Perez having an unlucky first half that should turn around with a monster second half performance. I'd be buying low on Salvi where I can. Next, third baseman Noel Marte helped the Reds to win against the Marlins, going 2 for 3 with a run, a home run, and 2 runs batted in. It was his 4th homer of the year, and it traveled 421 feet at 106 miles per hour. And I've been curious to see how Marte recovers from his PED suspension in the long term. He was always a top prospect, so it's not like the steroids were what made him good in the first place. Though it seemed that way last year when he returned from his time off to post a 48 WRC+ and negative 1.5 WAR in 66 games. Marte's looking much better this year, but I'm not convinced it sticks. What stands out about 2024 was his abysmal 31% strikeout rate. It's down to 16% this year, so you'd expect a notable change to his approach or his contact ability. Nope, he's still been ultra aggressive this year, and while his O contact is massively improved, he's making more contact out of the zone. His 14% swinging strike rate suggests he should be fanning more often than he has been. On top of that, Marte's batted ball quality has been worse, as he's not hitting the ball as hard and is putting everything on the ground. with batting average being Marte's calling card amid a 4 home run, 4 stolen base first half, and his 277 mark in that department expected to fall closer to his 238 expected batting average, I'd be avoiding him in all but NL only leagues moving forward. And lastly, we've got catcher Drake Baldwin, who helped the Braves to win against the A's, going 2 for 5 with a run, a home run, and 3 runs batted in. It was his 11th homer of the year, and it traveled 431 feet at 108 miles per hour. And what a revelation Baldwin has been for the Braves. He was quietly productive in the minors, so his debut came with little fanfare. But I don't blame us, because the presence of Sean Murphy, who had signed a 6-year lucrative extension for the Braves just a couple years ago. But Baldwin has been good enough to force Murphy to the short side of platoon while getting some shots at DH himself. And it looks like everything he's done already is sustainable. And he even has some room to grow with an 11% barrel rate and 51% hard hit rate. StatCast suggests that Baldwin has been underperforming his already impressive 278 average and 842 OPS. Of course, Baldwin needs to be rostered in the majority of leagues, and honestly, I think he's somewhat of an all-star game snub. But if you'd like a breakdown of other notable hitting performances from Wednesday, check out the daily Batters Box article over on pitcherlist.com. Now we'll head to the mound and check out some notable starting pitching performances, opening with Adrian Hauser, who helped the White Sox to a win versus the Blue Jays, tossing 7 innings, allowing 7 hits and 1 run while walking 2 and striking out 2. He induced 5 whiffs, so 20% CSW across 96 pitches, and Hauser keeps rolling thanks to continued sinker success and now sports a 1.56 ERA and a 1.13 whip through 9 starts on the season. That sinker has been incredibly effective at limiting hard contact all year, and it did so again on Wednesday, returning 16 foul balls while going 9 for 12 on outs on balls in play while stealing 10 called strikes. It hasn't needed much support in recent outings, but Hauser's changeup showed up against lefties for 4 whiffs and 28% CSW, while his slider didn't do much against righties with just 15% CSW on 14% usage. Hauser's sinker success won't last all year, and I'd be surprised if he's able to carry the feel for that pitch through the All-Star break, but with tons of run, extension, and strikes on the pitch, it gets the job done. He's not going to be somebody who gets you a lot of strikeouts, so really not the best target in terms of fantasy, but hey, you got to hand it to him. Hauser has been incredible so far. Next, we have Brandon Pfaadt, who helped the Diamondbacks to win in San Diego, tossing 8 innings, allowing 4 hits and 2 earned runs, walking nobody while striking out 4. He induced 7 whiffs with 25% CSW across 99 pitches. And after flashing a new and improved version of himself to open the season, Pfaadt slowly reverted back to his former, less effective self. Most notably has been his approach against lefties, which was propelled early by changeups and curveballs that found a lot of success, but that went by the wayside in favor of fastballs and sweepers. But recently, Pfaadt started to incorporate a cutter to lefties, which may be the missing piece. The pitch had a season-high 18% usage on Wednesday and did a great job of jamming lefties and earning strikes to keep Pfaadt in at bats. He also moved away from a four-seamer that has been his most thrown offering all year, but was thrown just 12 times on Wednesday as he favored a sinker instead, which filled up the zone to steal 9 called strikes. To induce swings and misses, Pfaadt turned to his sweeper, as usual, against righties for 3 whiffs and 29% CSW, while his changeup was effective enough to earn a trio of whiffs as well and 27% CSW. It's weird to see such a drastic change in a pitcher's repertoire in the middle of the season, but it was much needed as Pfaadt has struggled to an ERA over 5 this year. I'm not sure I'm buying this called strike and outs on balls in play reliant approach, but at least it's something to keep an eye on in the second half, and definitely a much needed change from Pfaadt. Lastly, we've got Bryce Elder, who helped the Braves to win against the A's, tossing 6 2/3 innings, allowing 8 hits and 2 earned runs, walking 1 while striking out 7. He induced 24 whiffs with 34% CSW across 100 pitches, and those 24 whiffs led baseball on Wednesday, earning Elder the gallows pull. And it's surprising coming from a pitcher with a 10th percentile swinging strike rate on the season. But his sinker and slider absolutely cooked in this one. They tunneled perfectly at the bottom of the zone as the heater induced a whopping 13 whiffs and 36% CSW, while the breaker found 8 whiffs and 36% CSW. He didn't need much else, but four-seamers gave him a different look with which to earn strikes, while changeups kept lefties off balance. We cannot expect this from Elder moving forward. He's really never done this, but this was a commendable start nonetheless, and you can say I'm quite impressed. Respect your Elders. But if you'd like a breakdown of every single start from Wednesday, give the Plus Pitch podcast a listen and check out Nick's daily SP roundup over on pitcherlist.com. Now we'll head to the bullpen and check out the relievers that got saves and the closers that pitched outside of save situations or blew their saves, starting with the former. Jordan Leisure recorded his second save with a scoreless ninth. Grant Taylor pitched in that one, tossing a scoreless eighth to earn his fifth hold. Devin Williams pitched a perfect ninth for his 13th save. Carlos Estevez pitched a scoreless ninth to earn his 25th save and is now tied for the American League lead in saves. Yohan Duran is up to 14 saves after his perfect ninth. Paul Sewald pitched a perfect ninth to record his second save. I called that one. And lastly, Kenley Jansen pitched a scoreless ninth to record his 16th save. And in terms of closers to pitch outside of save situations or blow their saves, Tanner Scott surrendered a run while attempting a 4-out save to blow his 6th save of the season. The Dodgers would go on to lose that one in 10 innings. Trevor McGill struck out the side in order in the 10th in that one and earned his second win when the Brewers walked it off. Pete Fairbanks pitched a scoreless ninth with a 4-run lead, not sure why. Seth Halvorsen surrendered 5 runs on a pair of homers while pitching the 8th down by 3. Emilio Pagan worked around a solo homer while pitching the 9th up by 6. He had it pitched since Friday, so this was a maintenance outing. And lastly, Kevin Ginkel pitched a perfect ninth with a 6-run lead. Not sure why they sent Ginkel out in that one. But if you'd like more information on relief pitchers, check out Rick Graham's weekly articles over on pitcherlist.com. And before we look forward to today's games, we're going to take a quick break. Now we'll look forward to Thursday, July 10th, a day in which we'll have just 11 games on the slate, but we will have a doubleheader between the Mets and the Orioles. My matchup of the day is Spencer Strider versus JP Sears. Strider is always fun to watch, and Sears from time to time can cook with his fastball, but this is more about watching Spencer Strider start against the A's. In terms of probable starters, I'm in our auto starts tier. We've got 3 guys, including Spencer Strider. We've also got Brian Wu in the Bronx and Nick Lodolo versus the Marlins. Our probably starts tier has one guy, and that's where we'll find our streamer of the day in Michael Soroka in St. Louis. His curveball has been cooking all year. I'm surprised he's still just 10% rostered in Yahoo, but he should have no problem against the Cardinals lineup on Thursday. I'd also keep an eye out for Eduardo Rodriguez in San Diego. The ceiling is very high. The floor is very low, so start him at your own risk, but Eduardo Rodriguez has shown the ability to strike out a bunch of batters from time to time, but also has had some blowups here and there, like his last start. So start at your own risk. Rodriguez in San Diego. In terms of hitter suggestions, I'd look at Mets and Orioles hitters in their doubleheader in Oriole Park. David Peterson and Charlie Morton will square off in the first game, while the second game will feature a yet-to-be-determined Mets pitcher versus Tomoyuki Sugano. More specifically, I love Juan Soto versus Charlie Morton in this matchup. He's batted .667 with 3 homers and a .2206 OPS in 12 at-bats against Morton. I'm also looking at Carson Kelly versus Chris Paddock in Target Field. Kelly has batted .333 with a homer and a .968 OPS in 12 at-bats against Paddock. I'll also target Marlins and Reds hitters in Great American Ballpark, one of the best hitters ballparks in baseball. We'll see Cal Quantrill square off against Nick Lodolo. And lastly, I'll look at Josh Bell versus Miles Mikolas in Busch Stadium. Bell has batted .294 with 2 homers and an .895 OPS and 34 at-bats against Mikolas. And now we'll close things out with our relievers to watch. There's none to watch, as it looks like every single closer should be available to go on Thursday. But that'll do it for today's episode of the First Pitch Podcast. Make sure to head on over to pitcherlist.com to check out all of the great articles and features we have on the site. Sign up for PL Plus or PL Pro to gain access to the Discord and to support the Pitcher List staff. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake Crumpler. Tune in live on YouTube tomorrow and every day for a new installment of the podcast. Trevor Hooth will be with you tomorrow and throughout the weekend. And make sure to enjoy the day as we are blessed with another day of baseball.